Yuta lives alone with his father, Taichi, and one day Taichi suddenly tells him he is getting married again. Yuta doesn't make a big scene because if his father is happy, then he has no reason to stop him. But then Taichi adds that the woman he is marrying, Akiko, also has a daughter, so Yuta will get a stepsister. Before meeting her, Yuta checks an old photo and assumes she must be some little kid. But when he reaches the bar with his father, the girl sitting beside Akiko is not a child at all. She is Saki, a girl almost his own age, and now this complete stranger is about to live in his house as a sister. His father makes it even more awkward by saying Yuta is only 1 week older, so technically he is the big brother. Akiko explains that the photo was old because Saki stopped letting people take her picture after growing up, and Saki bluntly says she is not photogenic. Later, Saki and Yuta talk alone near the bathroom. Saki says she feels relieved because Yuta doesn't seem scary, but Yuta tells her even scary people can look gentle. Saki replies that his father told her Yuta works hard, saves money for college, and gets good grades, but Yuta points out that even criminals can be smart. This makes Saki laugh, and the tension between them drops a little. But before things become too friendly, Saki stops him and says she wants to make one thing clear. She doesn't expect anything from Yuta, and she doesn't want him to expect anything from her either. Yuta gets her point right away and feels relieved, and Saki feels the same, because for both of them, this isn't some cute new sibling bond, but a clear deal between two people who just want to avoid useless trouble. A few days later, Taichi cleans the house like his life depends on it because Akiko and Saki are moving in, and Yuta finds his father's behavior strange, but Taichi explains that at his age, first impressions matter a lot. Soon, Akiko and Saki show up with a lot of bags and gifts, and Akiko has bought too many things since she can't say no to people's recommendations, which Saki bluntly exposes, making her mother embarrassed. Akiko is impressed by how clean the house is, and Yuta almost tells her they spent days cleaning non-stop. But Akiko says Taichi told her they just like cleaning, so Yuta doesn't ruin his father's image and says his family has a strong rule about cleaning dust. Saki thinks this sounds too serious, but Taichi welcomes them with full awkward dad energy and says he wants all 4 of them to live together happily, making Akiko and Saki laugh and lightening the mood. Yuta then takes Saki to her room and tells her the bed, curtains, and desk are already set up, but she can change the room however she wants. Saki is surprised the room looks so big, but Yuta says it's normal, and Saki reveals she and her mother used to live in an old studio apartment, and since Akiko worked at night, Saki was often alone and never had a proper room. Yuta apologizes that now she has to live with 2 men in one house, but Saki says she doesn't care. Saki then asks why Yuta talks so formal when they're the same age, and Yuta asks if she wants him to talk more casually, which Saki says would make her feel more comfortable. Yuta instantly changes his tone, which surprises Saki, and he says acting like close friends would still be hard, but Saki's clear honesty makes things easier for him. Saki explains her classmates used to make fun of the way she talks, like she's making contracts with people. That's why she cut off most people and kept only one friend. Yuta helps her unpack while their parents set up the house, but during this, he accidentally sees Saki's undergarment and gets so embarrassed it looks like he fell into some idiot trap, and Saki and the parents laugh at him, which somehow makes the house feel less stiff. Later, Yuta asks if Saki goes to Suisei High School, and when she confirms, she asks if he thinks it's strange for a girl to be in prep school, but Yuta says he only asked because he goes there too, and then he suggests they act like strangers at school. He even apologizes for the request, but Saki has no problem with it and says maybe it is better for him that way. Before they can talk more, Yuta gets a phone call and Saki lets him take it. The next day at work, his coworker Shiori notices a girl's smell on Yuta and starts teasing him, which annoys him. So she apologizes and says she just guessed, since Yuta already said he got a sister. She asks if Saki is pretty, and when Yuta confirms, she jokes that he's living with a beautiful girl. But Yuta quickly says nothing like that will ever happen and tells her to behave. When he asks how siblings should act, Shiori tells him to just act naturally. That night, Yuta comes home and says he's back, but Saki is sitting on the couch and doesn't know how to answer because no one ever greeted her like that before since her mother's work hours were the opposite of hers. Akiko would come home when Saki was at school and leave again when Saki got back, but Saki still says they're mother and daughter, and today they even went shopping together after a long time. Yuta asks about the bath and ends up using it first, and when he finishes, Saki is already in her room, so he knocks on her door, tells her the bath is ready, says goodnight, and goes to his own room. Later, Saki looks around the house and realizes this is very different from her old life. Yuta wakes up on a slow Sunday morning in the middle of July with that same heavy feeling when no one wants to move, and finally drags himself downstairs to see Saki washing dishes. They just give each other a normal morning greeting, and Saki thanks him for preparing the bath last night and says the water temperature was just right, but tells him not to do it again because it wastes water, saying it with her usual calm face before leaving for school first, while Yuta stands there like he just got rejected by the water bill, not a girl. Later at school, Yuta sees Saki sitting alone in the courtyard, and his classmate Maru comes and thinks Yuta is interested in her, but Yuta can't tell him Saki is now his stepsister, so he just says a girl like her would never go with him. Maru says the problem isn't Yuta, but the rumors around Saki, since her blonde hair, pierced ears, clean style, and cold attitude already make people think she's trouble. Some even say she's been seen around the motel district and sells herself. Yuta doesn't believe that rumor so easily, but Maru explains a baseball club guy once confessed to Saki, and she rejected him by saying she's as bad as the rumors and isn't interested in dating. Yuta thinks maybe Saki only said that to keep the guy away, but Maru says he's heard the same story from other guys too, and while one rumor can be ignored, when many people repeat it, it starts to feel real. Then Maru asks about Yuta's new sister, but the bell rings and they both go back to class before Yuta can answer. During tennis class, Maya acts like she has some secret powerful serve but messes up again, and while the others keep playing, Yuta notices Saki sitting apart from everyone with headphones on. Yuta goes to her and says he was just worried because a girl he knows was skipping class, and Saki asks if he's going to give her a big brother lecture, but Yuta knows he has no right to act like that. Instead, he asks why she picked tennis, and Saki says Maya wanted them to choose the same sport, but that wasn't the only reason. When she asks him the same question, Yuta admits he picked tennis because there are no team matches, since he doesn't like depending on others or having others depend on him. Saki says she's similar because team sports force people to get close, which Yuta finds strange since girls like Saki usually seem like the center of attention. But Saki wants everyone to stay in their own corner so she can listen to music in peace and not get bothered. After school, Yuta comes home and sees Akiko getting ready for work, and she's made dinner for him, which makes Yuta feel bad since she already works so much. Akiko says being a bartender isn't that horrible, and sometimes she doesn't mind cooking, and before leaving, she tells Yuta to look after Saki. Later, while Yuta is studying in his room, Saki knocks and comes in, tells him she's home, and turns on the light since Yuta is reading in the dark like he plans to ruin his eyes for free. Saki asks if he knows any easy part-time job that doesn't take much time and pays about 10,000 yen an hour, but Yuta says jobs like that aren't easy to find. Then Saki says she read that if someone needs money, they have to sell themselves, and Yuta freezes because that sounds wrong from every angle, and he tries to explain she should value her body, but Saki calmly says she already does, which is why she thinks she can make money with it. When Yuta asks if she could say that in front of her mother, Saki says Akiko would be happy her daughter is mature, and then asks if Taichi wasn't proud when Yuta started too. At this point, Yuta realizes they were talking about completely different things, and he was the only one with a dirty brain. Later, they eat together, and Saki explains why she dresses like that, since her clothes aren't just fashion, but are like armor that helps her survive among people. Yuta jokes maybe her outfit gives her defense points, but Saki says everyone is fighting invisible battles all the time, and she learned this from Akiko, who always looks beautiful before going to work. But since Akiko only finished high school and works at night, people judge her easily. If a woman is smart but not pretty, people call her arrogant, and if she's pretty but not smart by their standards, she's called a gold digger. If she depends on a man, she becomes a parasite, and if she works hard alone, people say she's a lonely woman who didn't get support. So Saki wants to look perfect before she becomes strong at school or work. She wants to prove those people wrong, even if she doesn't know exactly who they are. Yuta thinks all this sounds tiring, but Saki says it's worth it, and she thinks Yuta is similar because he doesn't want expectations from others, and doesn't want anyone to expect things from him either. Yuta says he's not as strong as Saki, so Saki tells him if he wants to avoid that pressure, he needs enough strength to live alone. Yuta realizes that's why Saki wants a job, so he offers to ask his superior if there's any work for her. Saki says she can't accept help without giving something back, so Yuta tells her to make miso soup for him. Saki asks if this is some kind of love confession, but Yuta says he just misses real miso soup since he usually eats instant food and can't ask Akiko when she works so much, so Saki agrees. The next morning, Yuta is surprised to see Saki making breakfast even though the deal was only for dinner, but Saki says she gives more than she takes. Taichi gets emotional seeing her cook and leaves after eating. Yuta eats slowly, so Saki asks if he didn't like it, and he explains he usually eats fried eggs with soy sauce, not salt and pepper. Saki accepts this and says next time they should talk about food preferences. At work, Yuta reads a book about making money, and Shiori notices his serious mood. Yuta says he wants to live alone after graduation, because living with a stepsister his age could get difficult, but Shiori says money is useful, and depending on others isn't wrong since even rich company presidents need people around them. She also does her usual teasing, which almost gives Yuta a headache, but her point is clear. That night, Yuta tells Saki about Shiori's advice, and Saki says Shiori seems like a pretty, smart older sister type, and her advice is right, but Saki still doesn't plan to change her mind. Yuta asks if she can't depend on him and Taichi, but Saki says they're both good people, and that's exactly why it would be easier if Yuta were a bad person. After dinner, she leaves without explaining more, and later, when Yuta comes out of the bath, he sees something Saki left in the hallway. The next morning, Yuta saw Saki walking ahead of him to school, and as usual, she had her headphones on and was not really paying attention to what was happening around her. When the signal changed, she started crossing the street without looking, but a fast car nearly hit her, so Yuta pulled her back just in time and scolded her, because he could not just watch her act so careless with her life. Later in tennis class, Saki played with Maya, who was as loud and bright as always, and although Saki looked fine on the outside, the morning accident kept bothering Yuta. Her headphones had broken in that mess, and for the first time, she looked so shaken that she held her bag like it was the only thing keeping her together. After the match, Saki looked at Yuta for a moment, but left without saying much. After school, heavy rain started, and Yuta saw Saki standing outside without an umbrella, so he gave her his and walked home soaked. While showering, he remembered what Saki had said before, that people fight their own battles inside, and even though it is hard, proving others wrong has its own value. When Yuta came out, he saw Saki and Maya sitting in the drawing room. The next day, Yuta remembered that Maya had come home because she wanted to see Saki's new house, and Saki had tried to contact Yuta, but he did not answer, maybe because he was in the shower. Since Maya had already seen Yuta helping Saki at school, Saki had to tell her that he was her stepbrother. Yuta did not make a big deal out of it, and Saki used the chance to ask for his contact. That morning, Saki and Akiko decided to have breakfast together because they had not done it for a long time, and soon everyone sat at the table while Akiko made rolled omelet with white dashi. Yuta liked the food and said he also liked fried eggs, and Saki said she would try to make them if she felt like it. After breakfast, Yuta helped with the dishes and asked if he could wash Saki and Akiko's clothes with his laundry, and Akiko thought his help was good, but told him that women's clothes can be delicate and need a special laundry net, which Yuta clearly did not know. Then, Akiko casually asked if she should also wash Yuta's underwear, since she would wash Taichi's, and the whole thing instantly became awkward. While walking to school, Saki told Yuta that she had told her mother not to accept his help with laundry, since he did not really know much about it, and then she started wondering if he secretly liked girly things, because his eyebrows looked too neat. Yuta got annoyed and said his eyebrows were just naturally like that, or at most the barber fixed them a little, and Saki felt a bit jealous because they really suited him. Then she asked if forcing gender differences into just two categories was wrong, and Yuta did not have a perfect answer, but guessed it was probably not good. Saki apologized because she was scared she might say something prejudiced and hurt someone without meaning to, but Yuta told her she seemed like someone who thought about her words and could fix her mistakes, so she should not torture herself over every mistake. Saki walked ahead and said he understood her very well, and that hit Yuta harder than he expected. Later, Yuta came home and saw women's underwear hanging to dry, and Saki arrived at the same time, so Yuta got so embarrassed that he left for work immediately. While he was at work, Saki messaged him and asked if he was looking at her stuff, but she did not really blame him. She admitted she might have judged him unfairly, and maybe he only panicked because he did not want to give the wrong idea. When Yuta came home, Saki gave him hot chocolate to settle the score, and said maybe looking at the underwear was just a reflex, and like him, she could also think about her actions later. Then she teased him and asked if the underwear was so charming that it caught his attention, but Yuta did not fall for her trap, although he admitted that for a second, he had thought about stealing one. Still, wanting to do something and actually doing it are two different things, and Saki accepted that and told him goodnight. The next day, Maya asked Yuta if something had happened with Saki because she had been acting strange since morning, so Yuta messaged Saki, but she replied coldly that nothing had happened. At dinner, Yuta apologized because he still had not found a good-paying job, but Saki had never expected it to happen so soon anyway. After showering, Saki quietly went into Yuta's room, where he was reading on the bed. She turned off the light, took off her clothes, came close to him, and asked if he was ready to buy her. For Saki, all this started the day she came to this house. She felt relief because Yuta and Taichi seemed like men she could trust. Yuta had prepared a bath for her, talked to her at school, cared when he saw rumors hurt her, and understood her without trying hard. Saki remembered his egg preference, made food for him, accepted that finding a job would take time, and slowly started feeling safe around him. After he saved her from the car, spent time with Maya, exchanged contacts, and shared her thoughts, Saki realized Yuta was starting to understand her in a dangerously deep way. But Yuta rejected her move and told her she was acting like those girls he hated, the ones who used their looks to get what they wanted. Saki said he was the only one who understood her, but Yuta told her this was about her, not about him. He covered her, Saki apologized, and the two of them talked until morning. Saki told him her father used to be kind, but after his company failed, he stopped trusting people. Akiko worked double shifts to support them, but her father did not like that either, and looked down on her bar job. Yuta understood because his own family had a similar wound. His mother had cheated on Taichi, and after that, Taichi became paranoid about women for a while. Saki realized she and Yuta were more alike than she thought. Yuta still believed they could live well as siblings, and to lighten the mood, he said he would not mind if Saki called him Big Brother. Saki laughed and thanked him, but later she realized why she could not call him that. If she did, she might start depending on him for everything, and she did not want that, so she kept using his name. But that created a strange feeling in her heart. Before Saki could understand it, she started having feelings for Yuta, and her independent side began to feel almost pathetic to her. A few days later, as Yuta heads home, he wonders what Saki has become to him now, since at first, a stepsister was just a stranger girl suddenly added to the family because of their parents' marriage, with no blood relation, no childhood memories, and no real reason to feel close. But after living with Saki for a month, Yuta can't explain this relationship so easily anymore, since she isn't just a stranger now, but calling her just a sister also feels too simple. When Yuta gets home, Saki is waiting for him in the hallway, and her attitude seems a bit closer than usual, as she asks Yuta to teach her modern literature because she failed that subject badly, getting only 38 out of 100, which is rough for a girl who gets strong marks in almost every subject. Saki says she's never been good at literature because she can't understand what the characters are feeling, which Yuta finds strange since Saki always tries to understand others, especially him. But Saki says that's exactly why she tries to make clear deals with people, since she doesn't naturally get their feelings. She also says if she fails the recovery exam, she'll have to take extra classes during summer vacation, which will ruin her plan to work. Yuta apologizes for not finding her a good job yet, but Saki says that's not what she meant, and sometimes she feels like she's using Yuta too much, but Yuta still agrees to tutor her. During the study session, Yuta notices Saki can handle basic essay questions, but her answers about the books have big gaps, and Saki gets annoyed because Yuta finds her weak points so fast, but realizes he's not insulting her. Yuta checks her test and sees she had the most trouble with Natsume Soseki's Sanshiro, and he explains the story is about free love, and some parts might be easier for people today than for people from the old era. Saki says she didn't understand Sanshiro, Mineko, or any of their actions, and when Yuta asks if she at least understood they were in love, Saki didn't even catch that part. When Yuta explains that Sanshiro felt jealous when other men got close to Mineko, Saki says he should have just said it directly, but Yuta tells her that when someone likes someone, it's not always that simple. Saki doesn't like these hidden feelings because she wants people to say what they mean clearly, so Yuta asks her to imagine a time when she couldn't express her feelings, maybe the first time she fell in love, but Saki says she's never had any love experience and then realizes Yuta hasn't either, so she concludes that real experience isn't needed for literature grades. Yuta agrees and tells her to treat literature like a puzzle instead of personally relating to the characters, and since Saki is good at history, he tells her to connect the book to the time period it was written in. If she learns the question patterns and understands the background, passing the test is possible. And later, Saki's answers start getting better. Yuta thinks she just needs to master the books that could be on the test, and Saki thanks him and says he's a good teacher, but Yuta doesn't act too proud. When Saki leaves, Yuta thinks she might have been smiling, but even Saki can't be sure. The next morning, Saki sees Yuta coming downstairs and tries to make him breakfast as promised, but Yuta tells her to focus on studying instead of cooking right now because passing the recovery exam is more important. Saki feels grateful, but Yuta makes it clear she doesn't owe him anything. At school, Yuta searches for study methods on his phone, and Maya suddenly shows up and calls him Big Brother, since she doesn't care much about private boundaries. Yuta tells her not to call him that at school, but Maya keeps using different brother names just to annoy him. She's in a good mood because exams are over, and she did well enough to avoid makeup tests, and she also says her overall score is high, which surprises Yuta. Since Maya is close to Saki and good at studying, Yuta asks if she knows a better way to help Saki. Maya notices Yuta is actually worried about Saki and says he's acting like a proper brother, then suggests Saki should study while listening to music. Yuta asks what kind of music, but Maya doesn't have a deep answer since she usually lets the app choose for her, but she still tells him he can be proud of helping Saki, even if he doesn't think he's a good person. Later at work, Shiori notices Yuta is distracted, and since the store is busy because of the weekend, Yuta is already annoyed by customers. Shiori tells him to be nicer to customers, even though when no one else is listening, she complains about them more than he does, and when another employee walks by, Shiori instantly puts on her sweet work face. Yuta points out she hides her real self from most people, and Shiori says after disappointing people in college, she stopped showing it, and for now, Yuta is the only one who knows her real personality. After the shift, Yuta finds Shiori exhausted at the back table. Since the shop is hot, the air conditioner is weak, and her back hurts from lifting heavy books, and she starts acting dramatic, but Yuta asks her for advice about study music. Shiori searches on her phone and gives him an earbud, and Yuta listens to a lo-fi hip-hop track that feels made for late-night study and rainy walks. He keeps listening to it on the way home while the rain falls around him. When Yuta gets home, he shows Saki the music and suggests using it while studying. Saki likes the music right away and is surprised Yuta knows about it, and Yuta admits Shiori recommended it. Saki asks if Shiori is the pretty older girl who knows everything, and Yuta confirms with a bit of embarrassment, saying Shiori is smart but also so strange she's funny, and Saki laughs and says she sounds interesting. After dinner, Yuta tells Saki she's done a lot for him, so sharing music is just a bit of payback from his side. Saki thanks him with a bit of shyness and says she'll try it while studying, and when she gets up to clear the dishes, Yuta stops her and says he'll do it tonight. Saki heads toward the hallway, then turns back and says goodnight, and Yuta says goodnight too. On the weekend, Yuta wakes up late and comes downstairs, where Taichi and Akiko are already having breakfast, but Saki isn't there since she stayed up all night studying for her recovery exam. Akiko says Saki is still sleeping, and she's worried Saki might catch a cold because she sleeps with her stomach exposed, and since it's hot, Saki probably kicked off her blanket herself. Yuta keeps this in mind because now his life includes worrying about a girl who studies too much and sleeps like she's fighting with her blanket. Later at work, Shiori notices the copies of a certain book are almost sold out, and there aren't enough left to fill the shelf, which annoys her because she actually likes that story. Yuta knows the book too and says it has a movie adaptation, and the story is about a boy who sees a girl with an old violin in the park, and when some men chase her and the boy gets involved, he ends up going on a strange journey through time and space with the girl to find out the secret behind the violin. Yuta suggests putting the remaining copies on the shelf with the covers facing out so customers notice them easily, and Shiori then says the movie will leave theaters tomorrow. Yuta isn't free the next day, so Shiori asks if he wants to see the late show after work, and Yuta agrees, which instantly makes Shiori happy. She tells him to inform his family, but when Yuta takes out his phone to message his parents, Shiori tells him to message Saki since she might worry about him. At the theater, Shiori orders a Diet Coke, which Yuta finds funny because it fits her too well, and she also wants caramel popcorn, so Yuta buys her a large bucket. Shiori thinks they'll share, but Yuta says he doesn't eat during movies, which seems too serious for a simple movie night. So Shiori pushes him a bit, and he finally eats popcorn with her, and this small thing makes Shiori happy because maybe for her, just sharing popcorn is enough to make the night special. The movie starts with a boy running with a bag of vegetables. Soon, the boy meets a girl who asks him to carry her violin and says it must be protected from dangerous men, even if it costs her life. The boy gets pulled into her problem and starts traveling with her, and when the men come after the violin, the boy protects the girl and keeps moving forward with her. Later, the girl gets sick, and the boy feels helpless because he knows he can't change her fate, but he understands they should keep going as long as they have time. With his support, the girl stands up again, and they continue their journey until their remaining time finally runs out. After the movie, Yuta walks Shiori home, and Shiori buys him a drink from the vending machine to repay him. Seeing Yuta's naturally kind nature, Shiori says she has something important to tell him, and suddenly says she only has 6 months left to live, clearly copying the movie's mood. Yuta gets the act and plays along, and Shiori almost gets too deep into the scene, but the vending machine ruins the moment and brings her back to reality, making her embarrassed as she tries to act normal again, like she didn't just turn a simple drink break into a fake tragic romance scene. Before they split up, Yuta thanks Shiori for the music playlist she gave for Saki's study, and Shiori tells him to give Saki her regards. After leaving, Shiori imagines Yuta as the boy from the movie and herself as the violin girl, and in her fantasy, the boy learns guitar, the girl survives, and they live happily together, giving the story the ending she wanted because the real movie probably wasn't that kind. The next day, Saki asks Yuta why he put a blanket on her while she was sleeping, and Yuta says he just did it because he didn't want her to catch a cold before the recovery exam. Then Saki asks about his late night, and Yuta tells her he watched a movie called A Rift in the Blue Night with Shiori. He recommends the movie, but Saki thinks reading the novel would be better because it could help her with literature study. Then Saki asks if Yuta is dating Shiori, and Yuta almost chokes since the question comes out of nowhere, but he says Shiori is just his coworker, and they just talk more because they both read books. When Saki says maybe she should read books too, Yuta tells her then he'll have another person to share his thoughts with. So for Saki, reading now becomes about more than just passing exams. Later, Yuta meets Shiori at work again and helps her restock the shelves, and a customer comes in, so Shiori goes to help her, but the customer turns out to be Saki. Shiori gets excited and starts complimenting her, while Saki stays calm and asks Yuta to to help her find the study guide and the novel from the movie, and Shiori instantly invites her to see the movie too, but Yuta stops her since Saki needs to study. After that, Saki asks Yuta for more book recommendations since he reads a lot, and Yuta helps her pick the books she needs, and before leaving, Saki compliments his work apron. Shiori wraps the books for her and watches the whole exchange like she just found a new drama to follow. And after Saki leaves, Shiori says maybe Saki likes Yuta, but Yuta dismisses it and says Saki is just his little sister. The next day at school, Maru notices Yuta looks distracted and asks why he's been talking to Maya so much lately, but Yuta says they're not close and he just asked her something about studying. Maru doesn't buy this simple answer and thinks maybe Yuta has a crush on Maya and tells Yuta to come to him for relationship advice if he needs it, which is pretty funny since Maru thinks he's a love expert after hearing half the story. After school, Yuta meets Maya again and Saki shows up too, and Maya suggests the three of them go home together. Yuta doesn't expect this, but Saki explains she asked Maya to come over and help her study since the recovery exam is close and she's taking all the help she can get. Maya enters Yuta's house like she's already been living there for a year, while Saki apologizes to Yuta in advance since Maya might make the house noisy, but Yuta says he doesn't mind and tells Saki to do her best. Later, Saki wants to make dinner for Yuta as usual, but Yuta tells her to focus on studying since he has the day off work and can handle dinner himself. But the problem is Yuta can barely cook, so he has confidence but no skill. Maya sees this and decides to help, with Yuta following a recipe on his phone while Maya teaches him how to prep ingredients and actually fix the dish. And Saki stays focused on her study material, which means Maya isn't completely useless this time. While cooking, Maya starts poking into Yuta and Saki's relationship, asking if there's anything suspicious going on, but Yuta quickly denies it. Maya says Saki has been using more perfume lately, when last year she hardly cared about that stuff, and tries to get a reaction out of Yuta, but he keeps saying Saki is just his stepsister, though Maya still doesn't seem convinced, especially when she notices Saki quietly watching Yuta from across the room. Before things get worse, Maya says the food is ready, and later, Yuta and Saki eat dinner together. The food turns out better than Yuta expected, mostly because Maya stopped him from turning dinner into a crime scene. Yuta asks Saki about her studying, and Saki says she's doing much better now, but Maya says their study method wasn't very efficient, which makes Yuta feel a bit useless, since he thought his method was really helping. Saki notices his worry and tells him not to take it so seriously, since his help still worked for her, and now she feels ready for the test. The next day, Maru sees Yuta is distracted again in class and asks how he's doing before leaving, but Yuta's mind is clearly somewhere else. Later at work, he keeps making small mistakes and can't focus properly, which Shiori notices and gets worried since Yuta is usually not this sloppy. Yuta is so tired he goes straight home after work, and when he gets there, he sees Saki's bedroom door is open, but she's not there. At that moment, heavy rain starts outside, so Yuta runs to the balcony and brings in the hanging clothes before they get soaked, and after putting them in the dryer, he turns on the news and finds out a storm has hit the city, with many train stations crowded and people stuck because of the weather. Yuta starts worrying about Saki since she still hasn't come home, so he messages her to check if she's okay, but Saki doesn't reply. At first he waits, but then his thoughts start getting worse, and he imagines maybe Saki did badly on her test and is crying alone in the rain somewhere, so finally he grabs umbrellas and heads out to look for her. But before he gets far, he finds Saki, who is surprised and asks where he's going, and Yuta hesitates at first, but then admits he was worried about her. He thought maybe her exam went badly, and since she wasn't replying to messages, he went out to search for her. Saki apologizes for making him worry, then jokes that her test really did go badly, since she got 94 out of 100, while Yuta once scored 96, so she lost by 2 points. Yuta realizes she's fine, even though she made him panic for no reason. Saki explains she stopped at the store to buy groceries and wanted to thank Yuta because he helped her pass the exam. Yuta says he didn't do that much, but Saki doesn't agree, since he tutored her, gave her music that made studying easier, and even made her dinner last night. Since Saki's policy is to give more than she takes, she wants to make a proper meal for Yuta this time. Then Saki brings up Shiori, saying Shiori seems like the only person Yuta can rely on, but Saki wants Yuta to relax around her too, and tells him he can rely on her as well. Yuta accepts this and agrees to let her cook for him. On the way home, he asks why she didn't reply to his message, and Saki says her phone battery died because she kept listening to the music Yuta gave her. The day before summer vacation, Maru notices Yuta looks much lighter, like whatever was bothering him finally got solved. Later at work, Yuta sees a blonde girl enter the staff room and asks his boss who she is, and his boss says her name is Saki, and she's there for a job interview. A few days earlier, Saki was thinking about her weak modern literature skills, since she could study other subjects without much trouble. But when a question asked what a character felt or why someone acted a certain way, her mind almost gave up. On the other hand, Yuta was good at breaking things down and explaining them simply, and even when Saki lost confidence, he showed her a way forward. Yuta also gave her the study music Shiori recommended, and Saki started listening to it a lot, knowing Yuta put in extra effort for her, which only made her feelings more confusing. At night, she wrote everything in her diary because her mind was so messed up she couldn't handle it quietly, and it bothered her that Yuta went to see a movie with Shiori. She wondered why he didn't tell her, but then realized she always acts like she doesn't care about Yuta's private life. Saki didn't know what this feeling was and thought maybe hate was the closest word, but it didn't fit, and she hated herself for feeling that way. That same night, she studied in the living room because she wanted Yuta to see her effort when he got home, but she fell asleep before he returned, and in the morning, she saw a blanket over her, and that small thing made her happy. Later, Saki went to the bookstore because she needed the novel from the movie and a study guide, and was also curious about Shiori, who in her mind was a girl who loved books and was liked by people who loved books. When Saki saw her in person, she realized Shiori was pretty, friendly, and easy to talk to, and seeing Shiori and Yuta argue so naturally, Saki thought they looked good together, which annoyed her more than it should have. Then Saki saw a part-time job poster in the store, and while the pay wasn't the huge money she wanted, it was still a chance to work, earn, and stand on her own feet, and more than that, it was Yuta's workplace. Saki decided to apply, even though she knew it would make things awkward, and she didn't have a clear answer for why she chose that place. That was the problem. The day before the retest, Saki brings Maya home to help her study, and Maya also helps Yuta make dinner, so thanks to both of them, Saki is able to properly prepare. The next day after the test, she passes with 94 points, avoids remedial classes, and can use her summer vacation however she wants. But when it starts raining and she meets Yuta outside, she doesn't tell him about the interview and lies that her phone died from listening to music, and she was late because she went grocery shopping. That lie stays in her mind and makes her feel even worse. The job interview goes well, but now Saki is scared to face Yuta, and she feels some relief knowing she won't have to hide it forever. That night, while writing her diary, she finally realizes she was letting other people's ideas control her too much, and since no one else will read the diary, she decides to leave her real thoughts there as a warning for her future self, then hides it. The next morning, the family has breakfast together, and Taichi notices Saki and Yuta still call each other by family names. Akiko suggests Saki could call Yuta Big Brother, but both Saki and Yuta feel it doesn't fit them. After breakfast, Yuta says he has to go to work around noon, and Taichi tells him not to overwork since summer vacation has started and he should rest or spend time with friends. Yuta says he doesn't really have many friends anyway, while Saki at least has Maya and other classmates. Later, Saki comes to Yuta's room and corrects him, saying Maya is her only real friend, and they're not the type to hang out all summer, and Maya only came over because she was curious about Yuta and their new family setup. Saki explains Maya is considerate and knows when to give her space, and Yuta realizes Saki probably likes being alone for the same reason he does. At work, Yuta and Shiori watch Saki handle her new job, and when Saki struggles to find a book, Shiori tells Yuta to help her. Yuta quickly finds the book because it was hidden under another one and didn't belong in the new release section. On the way home, Saki asks how he knew where the book was, and Yuta explains it was released a while ago, so it got put in the wrong place. Saki is impressed, but Yuta says Shiori is even faster than him. When they pass a boutique, Saki says fall is already coming because the mannequins are wearing fall clothes, but Yuta says it still feels like summer since the heat hasn't ended. Saki realizes Yuta has almost no interest in fashion, which explains his plain clothes a bit too well. The next day, Taichi is struggling with a broken air conditioner, and Yuta asks about Saki, and Akiko says she went out because she can't stand the heat. Akiko remembers how Saki used to ask for ice cream on hot days as a kid, but after middle school, Saki stopped asking for things like that, and Akiko misses that part of her. Later, Maru calls Yuta and meets him at a cafe, asking if Yuta is going to the pool with Saki and Maya, but Yuta didn't even know about it, so the answer is clearly no. That night, while coming home from work with Saki, Yuta praises her for learning the job quickly, then asks if she was invited to the pool. Saki is surprised and wonders how he knew, and Yuta says it came from Maru, not Maya. Saki asks if he wants to go, but Yuta says he'd fill out a place at the pool, and Saki says she's not going either, and if he doesn't want to go, then he doesn't have to. After coming home, Saki goes to her room and finally gives a name to the ugly feeling inside her. She's jealous. The next day, Akiko leaves for work and hears a baby crying nearby, which takes her back to when Saki was little and would ask for ice cream in summer like it was her legal right. Akiko used to calm her by promising something tasty for dinner, like beef stew, and once on the way home, she asked little Saki where she wanted to go next week, and Saki happily picked the pool. That same day, Taichi finally fixes the air conditioner, so now Saki can study at home without melting. Then Yuta carefully asks Akiko if Saki would like a surprise plan if she wasn't included in the preparation, and Akiko says Saki would probably want to be involved from the start, so a surprise might irritate her instead of making her happy. Yuta understands Saki doesn't like being pushed into things without control. Akiko then notices Yuta is worried about Saki and realizes he's seen how much Saki pushes herself, which makes Akiko think about her past since she couldn't spend enough time with Saki when she was little because of work. She tells Yuta to look after Saki and force her to rest if needed. Yuta worries Saki might end up hating him, but Akiko says if it helps, she can tell him Saki's favorite thing, which is the pool. Later, Yuta knocks on Saki's door and asks about the pool plan, but Saki says she's not going. Yuta then says he wants to go and asks for Maya's number, but Saki refuses and tells him giving someone's contact information without permission is bad manners. Yuta has no answer because Saki is right, and he just looks like an idiot who forgot basic privacy rules. At cram school, a girl returns something Yuta dropped earlier, and when he leaves, he runs into Shiori, who was talking with one of her college professors and seems stuck in a serious debate. When Yuta asks about it, Shiori says she'll be fine now since teasing Yuta gives her energy. She leans in as a joke like she's acting in some cheap romance scene, but right then Saki shows up and sees them together, which makes the situation look a lot closer than it really is. At work, things stay mostly the same, but a bit of distance grows between Yuta and Saki. Later, Saki texts him that she's going shopping, so Yuta should go home without her, and on the way home alone, Yuta wonders what their relationship really is now. By family, they're siblings, but the space between them isn't that simple. When Yuta gets home, he looks for something to eat and finds fried rice, and when Saki returns, she tells him to reheat it after taking off the lid. While making coffee, Yuta brings up the pool again and asks if he can get Maya's number, and this time Saki agrees to give it to him, but Yuta finally explains he doesn't really want to go with Maya. He only brought it up because he wanted Saki to go and enjoy herself, and thought if Saki saw him trying to go, maybe she'd get jealous and join too. Saki says she doesn't have time, and Yuta understands she wants to be independent and work hard, but he tells her she's pushing herself too much, and if she keeps running without rest, sooner or later she'll break. Saki doesn't take this well, leaves Maya's number for him, and goes to her room, where she sits alone and thinks about how hard it is to grow up. That night, Saki can't sleep properly, lying on her bed staring at the ceiling and thinking, and even by morning her mind is still a mess. When she comes out of her room, Yuta asks if she slept well, and Saki admits she only got to sleep around 6 in the morning, then notices the time and apologizes for not making breakfast. Yuta tells her Taichi already ate bread before leaving, but Saki still tries to make breakfast for him, and Yuta stops her and tells her to listen to him for once instead of running away. He reminds her that when she moved in, she said it would help if they could smooth things out between them, and right now, Saki is sleep deprived, and Yuta doesn't want her cooking for him in that condition since he's not asking for burnt food and a collapsed sister as a bonus. Yuta tells Saki to sit down and decides to handle breakfast himself, asking what she wants, and Saki quietly asks for grilled toast. Yuta also asks if she wants warm milk, since maybe it will help her sleep better, and he makes breakfast for both of them, while Saki watches him like it's the first time she's seen Yuta take charge so clearly. She eats the toast, drinks the warm milk, and slowly calms down. After that, Saki suggests they go to the pool together, and Yuta feels relieved, but then Saki mentions they both have work that day. Yuta says they can trade shifts with someone else, which makes Saki happy. On the way to the bookstore, Saki apologizes for being in a bad mood the day before and says she'll try to be more open from now on, but in return, she wants Yuta to tell her if he's dating Shiori. Yuta says he's not dating Shiori, and Saki looks a little surprised, then starts praising Shiori's looks and personality, but stops herself before she accidentally convinces Yuta to like Shiori. As they walk, Yuta realizes he brought his bike for nothing since they're walking anyway, and now they're so far from home he has to drag the bike the whole way, and Saki laughs at him for making his life harder by himself. Later, Saki thinks about Yuta and realizes he's the kind of person who notices things but doesn't make a big deal out of it, and even though he looks relaxed from the outside, he still sees the effort Saki tries to hide from others. That's why Saki is drawn to him and wants to know him more, even though that feeling has already become a problem. She remembers the day at work when she struggled to find a book for a long time, but Yuta found it in seconds and explained it was in the wrong section because it had already been released and didn't belong with the new books. Saki was impressed, but when Yuta said Shiori could find it even faster, Saki realized she was only seeing things from her small view. Shiori wasn't just some pretty coworker. She was skilled, smart, and so close to Yuta that Saki couldn't ignore her. The next day, on the way home from work, Yuta asked if Maya invited her to the pool, and Saki remembers how badly she reacted, since she didn't want to hear about fun or breaks because she thought she didn't have time for things like that. But later, she felt shame because Yuta was only worried about her and was trying to make her rest, while Saki treated his concern like an annoying problem. Her mood got even worse when she saw Shiori leaning close to Yuta, and Saki had to smile like nothing happened. But inside, she kept comparing herself to Shiori, noticing Shiori's long hair and thinking it fit with Yuta's calm and plain style. Then Saki started wondering if Yuta liked women with long hair, and that thought made her feel even more pathetic. Saki also remembers Yuta telling her to go to the pool and enjoy herself, and she doesn't fully understand why Yuta cares so much about her taking a break, but she remembers his expression, which reminds her of Akiko in the past, when Akiko once suggested going to the beach and Saki refused because she thought they couldn't afford it. Even then, Saki had already started acting like she didn't need anything. Now when she imagines if she and Yuta were normal siblings playing by the water, she feels a kind of warmth in her chest she can't explain, and that's why she finally decides to go. On the way to the pool, Saki gets sleepy and remembers her childhood, like when she went to the zoo with Akiko and loved the hippo so much that Akiko bought her a hippo plushie, which made her really happy. Saki also remembers the small spots of light on her hand from the window, and when she wakes up and sees the same kind of light again, she closes her hand as if she already knows you can't always hold on to the past. At the pool, Saki worries she might not fit in, but she sees Yuta and notices he handles people better than she expected. And because Yuta is there, the day becomes easier for her. For the first time in a long while, Saki lets herself enjoy something without turning it into a task. Then Saki notices Yuta quietly cleaning up the swim rings other people left in the pool. Not showing off or trying to look cool, just cleaning up because someone has to. And while no one else really notices, Saki does, and for her, this small action shows Yuta's personality. When Yuta finishes, Saki sits next to him and praises him, and Yuta tells her he doesn't like being the center of attention because he's afraid of messing up. Saki listens and slowly relaxes, and Yuta's effort changes her mood so much that she finally joins the others in the pool and plays with them. Seeing Saki laugh and enjoy herself reminds Yuta of all the other moments she smiled in front of him, and without planning it, he starts to see her as beautiful in a different way, and a small feeling starts to grow inside him. On the way home, Yuta talks with the others but is thinking about himself, since his broken family history always made him look at relationships in a cold and careful way, and since he's never really been in love, he doesn't understand how this feeling showed up so quietly. Saki is his stepsister, but he can't just erase her, and as they walk, Saki comments that Yuta and Maya seem closer now. Yuta explains he just thanked Maya because she arranged the pool outing, and then Saki thanks Yuta too, saying she's always liked swimming pools, and today she could enjoy it because of him. Yuta wants to say something, but suddenly fireworks start in the distance and cut him off. While watching the fireworks, Saki tells Yuta he's very considerate, and she admires how he helps people in small ways, and for the first time, she calls him Big Brother. Yuta is surprised, but also relieved, since that word pulls him back from feelings he shouldn't have. On the way home, he feels guilty for looking at Saki that way, while Saki is trying to treat him like family, but Yuta doesn't know Saki is forcing herself too. She has feelings she's trying to bury, because they're supposed to be siblings, and she knows if Yuta even took one step toward her, she might lose control. The next day, Saki finds out Akiko and Taichi both took a day off to spend time together, and since Saki and Yuta also have 2 days off from work, the family can be together. Seeing Akiko happy, Saki decides she doesn't want to break this home, so she locks her diary and tries to seal those feelings away with it. When Yuta wakes up, he's upset he missed cram school, but Taichi says he let him sleep so he could rest. Akiko thanks Yuta for taking Saki to the pool and says she's glad Saki has a caring older brother. Then Saki comes home with short hair, and Yuta is caught off guard for a moment. Saki decides she won't write in her diary again because she doesn't want anyone to find those feelings. She can't make them disappear, but she promises herself she will stay Yuta's sister. The next day, Maya handles the school cafe plan like she's been waiting her whole life for this small bit of power, telling the class to calculate the budget for snacks, drinks, and disposable items. After the meeting, she dismisses everyone, and Saki checks a message from Akiko. A boy named Shinjo suggests the group go to karaoke, and Maya invites Saki too, but Saki refuses because she has errands to run. Shinjo looks disappointed, but Saki doesn't pay attention. On the way home, Saki thinks about what step-siblings really are, since at first she thought step-siblings were just strangers who become family on paper and always stay strangers. But after everything with Yuta, that clear idea doesn't seem true anymore. When Saki gets home, Akiko is getting ready for work, and Saki asks why Akiko told her to come home early. Akiko says she wanted to talk face-to-face about parent-teacher meetings and asks how things are with Yuta at school. Saki says nothing has changed since they're in different classes and still don't act close at school. Then Akiko explains the real problem. Taichi has been feeling a bit down lately, and Akiko was hoping to attend both Saki and Yuta's meetings. But since she works night shifts and can't keep taking days off, she's wondering if she can handle both meetings in one day. Just then, Yuta comes home, so Akiko tells him the same thing, and since she knows Yuta and Saki haven't told anyone at school they're siblings, she says she can go on different days if it's easier. Yuta doesn't like this idea since Akiko already works hard, and calling her to school twice just to protect their secret seems unfair. Akiko tells him not to worry, but the problem still hangs in the room, and she also wants Yuta to slowly accept her as family, not just his father's new wife, so this meeting isn't as simple as it seems. That night, Saki comes home from work and sees Yuta has already made dinner, and after they sit together, after a quiet moment, they finally talk about the parent-teacher meeting. Yuta says they didn't want people at school to know they were step-siblings, but now, it doesn't really matter to him, and Saki says she feels the same. If they keep hiding it, Akiko will have to suffer for something that's not her fault, so they decide to schedule the meetings on the same day so Akiko can finish everything in one trip. Saki says she has another reason for including Akiko in Yuta's meeting, but doesn't fully explain, and when she gets up to wash the dishes, Yuta says he'll do it, but Saki says they should do it together. Washing dishes side by side, they talk more naturally than before, and for the first time, it starts to feel like they're real step-siblings in a real home, not just two strangers sharing a house. The next morning, Taichi asks Yuta if he's truly okay with the parent-teacher meeting plan, and Yuta says he and Saki made the decision together. Taichi explains Akiko really wants them to become a family, so this will make her happy. Then Saki comes downstairs and apologizes for not making breakfast, but Taichi just tells her to eat with them. Saki shows Yuta a message from Akiko, who is clearly happy with their decision, and Yuta realizes this small thing really matters to her. On the way to cram school, he thinks about Akiko and wonders if she can really become a motherly person in his life, and while he doesn't have a clear answer yet, at least he's thinking about it now. Later, Yuta tells Maru that Saki is his stepsister, and Maru immediately apologizes for believing the ugly rumors about Saki and for thinking Yuta had a crush on her. After hearing the truth, Maru says they seem fine as siblings, which makes Yuta feel a bit more settled. Meanwhile, Saki is with Maya and the others in class, and Shinjo suggests they all go out later in the month, maybe for bowling. But Saki says she needs to study, so Shinjo instantly changes the plan and suggests a study session at the library. Maya says her parents are usually out on weekends, so they can come to her place too. Saki doesn't fully jump in, but she's not completely outside the group anymore either. Later, Yuta goes to his locker and hears Maya and her friends talking with Saki, and seeing Saki slowly fitting into a small circle makes him quietly happy, since he doesn't need to give her a big speech. He just feels relief that Saki isn't always alone. At work, Shiori notices Yuta looks gloomy and also points out that he and Saki have been working different shifts lately. Then she starts teasing him and asks if he misses Saki, but Yuta says he's just Saki's brother and his mood has nothing to do with her. Shiori changes the topic and invites him to her college's open campus event, saying maybe it'll improve his mood, especially since her college is full of girls. That's when Yuta remembers Shiori goes to an all-girls college, which explains a bit too much about her weird teasing style. Later, while helping a customer, Yuta recognizes the same girl who returned his drop thing at cram school, and she asks if he still goes there, and Yuta says he only goes on weekends now. She tells him her name is Kaho and quickly leaves since she doesn't want to bother him while he's working. That night, Akiko eats the miso soup Saki made and says Yuta will like it too. Later, Saki dries her hair and waits for Yuta to come home, thinking about the pool day and the strange feeling she's trying to bury. And when it gets late, she covers the dinner, leaves a note for Yuta, and goes back to her room. She knows the easiest way to keep distance from Yuta is to stop making dinner for him, but that feels like cutting the relationship, and she doesn't want to go that far. On the day of the parent-teacher meetings, the family has breakfast together, and Akiko checks the schedule again since there are only 20 minutes between Yuta and Saki's meetings. She barely gets any sleep before going to school, so Taichi promises to call and wake her up. Akiko is clearly tired, but still looks happy because she gets the chance to attend as their parent. Later, Yuta is waiting in the school library when Mai comes to him and says Saki already went home since she forgot something and decided to go back so she could wake Akiko herself. Then Maya suddenly asks Yuta if he likes Saki, but Yuta denies it and says they're siblings. Maya reminds him they were strangers not long ago, so it wouldn't be that strange if feelings got messy, but Yuta still says Saki is his sister. Then Maya asks if she can set Saki up with someone else since a boy seems interested in her, and Yuta says she doesn't need his permission. When Akiko arrives, she asks Yuta if he ever met Saki before they became family, and Yuta says he doesn't remember anything like that. Then he takes Akiko to the meeting room, and Akiko promises to do her best like she's going to a job interview, not a parent-teacher meeting. Inside, Yuta's teacher says Yuta is doing well and could aim for strong Tokyo universities if he keeps his pace, and the teacher also praises Akiko for raising Yuta well. Akiko is about to correct him, but Yuta says he's grateful to her, and Akiko gets emotional since Yuta has never really treated her like a mother before. For her, that one sentence isn't small. After that, Akiko attends Saki's meeting, and Saki's teacher says she was worried at first since Saki seemed hard to approach and stood out too much. But after watching her, the teacher realized Saki is just a serious girl who likes to dress well. The teacher asks what college Saki wants to go to, and Saki says she wants a place that's affordable and useful for finding a good job. The teacher recommends Suganomiya Women's College, which is a strong school, but thinks Saki can get in if she works hard. Saki isn't fully confident, so the teacher suggests she visit the open campus first. On the way home, Akiko asks Saki what she's planning, and Saki says she'll visit the campus the next day. Akiko gets excited about Saki's future, and Saki quietly watches her mother looking happier than usual. The next day, Saki goes to the college and runs into Shiori, who gets excited to see her, and since there's still time before the sample lecture starts, Shiori offers to show her around campus. Then Professor Kudo shows up, and Shiori explains Kudo is giving the ethics lecture that day. Kudo quickly notices something is bothering Saki, so she takes her to the office, where she says Shiori told her a bit about Saki's situation, and she knows Saki might have feelings for Yuta, which is complicated because society now sees them as siblings. Saki says she doesn't even understand what she feels, and then explains everything that's happened in the last 3 months. Kudo listens, but doesn't give a simple answer right away, and says Saki cares too much about her image in other people's eyes, and is always fighting between her looks, her pride, and her need to be understood. Kudo thinks maybe Saki is drawn to Yuta because very few people have tried to understand her properly, and advises Saki to meet more people and make new connections, because as she finds others who can understand her, maybe this feeling will calm down. But if her feelings are still there after that, Saki will have to stop dismissing them as fake. Meanwhile, Yuta meets Kaho at cram school. As they leave, Yuta and Kaho talk, and since they're both hungry, they buy lunch from a convenience store. Kaho says at first she thought Yuta was trying to hit on her, but then realized he's way too calm and normal for that. She explains she goes to night school and often goes to the arcade after, so people assume dirty things about her, but Yuta doesn't judge her and just sees her as a normal person. Kaho notices Yuta doesn't judge anything based on rumors until he understands it himself. After Kudo's talk, Saki attends the sample ethics lecture, which feels tiring but interesting. That night, she tells Yuta she met Shiori, an estranged professor at college, and says the professor made her think a lot, but she also had fun. Yuta asks if she'll go again tomorrow, and Saki says she'll try, because maybe it'll help her understand herself better. Saki asks what Yuta will do tomorrow, and Yuta says he'll have lunch with the girl he met at cram school, and instead of feeling jealous, Saki is actually happy for him. Yuta is also relieved. Saki finds a reason to look toward college, and Yuta finds a new person to talk to, and slowly, they both start making their own paths, as if maybe this distance will finally help them become proper siblings. A few days later, Saki joins a study session with Maya and the others. And while studying, she realizes just memorizing answers isn't enough. She needs to learn how to find answers by herself, since textbook questions won't magically make anyone better, so when someone hits a wall, they should rely on others instead of acting strong for no reason. This makes Saki start thinking about Yuta, since she learned from him that people can accept their weak points, ask for help, and give help back when they get the chance. She also knows people can't read minds, and if someone hides everything and then expects others to understand them, that's unfair. But even after knowing all this, Saki is still hiding the biggest thing she should be telling Yuta. Later, Saki goes with Shinjo to buy snacks for the study group at a local store, and on the way, they talk about his little sister, and at the same time, by coincidence, Yuta sees them through a restaurant window where he's eating with Kaho. Kaho notices his face and realizes something is wrong, saying Yuta had the same look yesterday, like he was running from something, and then she understands Yuta didn't come to cram school just to study or make a new friend. He was looking for a place to hide from his feelings. While ordering dessert, Kaho asks if his problem is about love, saying people often look for new experiences when they want to escape a painful feeling. Yuta admits he has feelings for someone he should never have fallen for, and if he acts on it, he could hurt other people and create trouble for his family. Kaho sees Yuta is stuck in a corner of his own mind, so she tells him to come with her after cram school. Meanwhile, Shinjo finally confesses to Saki, who tries to respond politely, but makes it clear she can't see him as a boyfriend. Shinjo accepts it with a smile, but he's clearly hurt and promises not to bother her again before leaving. Saki Saki remembers Kudo's advice that she should connect with more people, so she texts Yuta she'll be late tonight. At night, Yuta goes out with Kaho and looks at the city from above, and Kaho talks about the people walking below who look like they're moving without thinking. She says she used to see them that way and thinks Yuta is similar, which annoys her because she can tell Yuta grew up without a woman he could rely on, so he learned to judge things calmly and objectively. That might look like strength, but Kaho knows Yuta probably forced himself to become that way. Yuta asks if Kaho is the same, and Kaho says after an accident in middle school, she lost both parents, and after that, her faith in people was gone. Both families were against her parents' marriage, and even at the funeral, they made fun of them. At that time, Kaho didn't feel clear sadness or anger, just like everything had already ended. Later, her aunt adopted her because she couldn't leave Kaho alone and told her to face the anger and pain inside her. Kaho acted like she'd given up on everything, but her aunt saw through it and helped her understand her own heart, which is why Kaho thinks Yuta also has locked feelings inside. He can keep lying to himself, but if he doesn't handle those feelings, they'll slowly eat him from the inside. The next morning, Yuta and Saki have breakfast together, and Yuta tells her he saw her walking with a boy through a restaurant window yesterday. Saki says she was with Shinjo, then asks why Yuta was late, and Yuta says he was walking with a new friend. Saki first thinks it was Shiori, but Yuta explains it was a different girl from cram school, and that person helped him understand what he was avoiding. Then Yuta finally says he has feelings for Saki, and Saki is so shocked at first she thinks he's joking, but quickly realizes Yuta would never hurt her like that. She asks what he really means, and when she's sure Yuta understands his own words, she tries to explain it away, saying maybe Yuta feels this way because he hasn't had many close relationships with girls, so maybe his brother feelings just got too strong. But even as she says this, Saki can't handle the pressure, so she leaves and hides in her room. Yuta tries to stay calm, but he can't carry all this alone, so he knocks on her door, and after a while, Saki opens it and pulls him inside. She says what Yuta said is okay with her, then hugs him and thanks him for being honest, because if Yuta kept it inside, it would crush him. Saki still thinks maybe Yuta doesn't fully understand his feelings, but whether he really likes her or is just confused by their strange family situation, Saki accepts both possibilities and admits she's stuck in the same kind of confusion. If hugging Yuta makes him feel safe, she wants to do that, and when Saki feels weak, she wants Yuta to comfort her too. They both know they can't make things hard for Taichi and Akiko, since their parents finally made a peaceful home, and neither of them wants to break it, so they decide on a compromise. In front of everyone, they'll act like brother and sister, but in private, they'll carry their feelings carefully and face them together. They also admit they get jealous when the other spends time with someone else. Saki says siblings can get jealous too, but they both know it's not that simple. When Saki starts crying, Yuta comforts her and says they'll figure it out together. For now, they're not strangers anymore, but they're not normal siblings either. They're two confused people inside a family they want to protect.